evening. I'm Audrey Wiggins, and welcome to another webisode of Make Something Happen. It's an awesome month. It's spring, it's April, and we're going forward. A lot of new things are happening. We're also celebrating Minority Health Month, so I look forward to bringing about some different guests and programming in that area as well. But today, we have Kimberly F. Brown in the studio. And Kimberly is a friend of mine, and I've been in association for several years. And she's done some interesting things. Her career has been very exciting, extensive, and in a word, Kimberly is an advocate. And I'm going to ask you, Kimberly, in a minute to really give us the foundation of where that comes from, because that's not something you just do or become. I believe it's something that comes about a very early age. So I look forward to you sharing that. But Kimberly is also a graduate of Strayer University, Baldwin Wallace College, the Ohio School of Broadcasting, and Hondros College. She has her master's in public administration. She's also a former licensed social worker for the state of Ohio. She has great experience working with felony offenders, foster youth, and at-risk families. And Brown was also one of the first wraparound specialists in Cuyahoga County. I'm going to briefly tell us what that is, Kimberly, for those who may not know the wraparound specialist concept.
Here's what happened. In the early parts of 1990.
Okay.
This was during the time where our young people crime rate was beginning to grow astronomically. And this was also during the time where we had a judge named Judge Leotis Harris.
Okay.
And Judge Betty J. Rubin. Well, they got together with several social service organizations like Berea Children's Home, Palmerdale, and many others. And they were trying to figure out how to put together a program that would actually help young people in the community rather than incarcerate them.
Okay.
So when they were putting this program together, they were looking for some of the best social workers out in Cuyahoga County. And fortunately, my shoulder was tapped.
All right.
Myself and a guy named Kevin Rogers, who is now the CEO of St. Martin de Porres, we were asked to help formalize this brand new program called Wraparound Services. Kevin came out of Palmerdale. I came out of Berea. And the program basically consisted of doing whatever it took to help sustain young people in the community. If not, then these young people would have been incarcerated. So wraparound services pretty much means this, is that you build a community team. You go get the father. If the father's not there, you get the grandparents, you get the pastor, you get the school teacher, you get the street club president, whoever has a significant impact on that young person's life. These people become his team members, his neighborhood connections, his support system. And regardless of whether or not mom didn't have a job, our job was also now to build relations with mom and make sure she had all the necessary resources. So to wrap it up in a shell, it's pretty much symbolic to this. Whatever was needed in that family, then therefore it was my job to go out there and get. And help the family become empowered to the point where they didn't become dependent on the system, but once they gained the information, the education, and the resources, that we were able to stabilize that youth and help the family grow and become more empowered to save that youth from going into a period of incarceration.
Absolutely. That's a powerful concept.
Yes. And the thing about it is that the program still exists today.
Okay.
However, they're not using the fundamentals, the way in which we've learned.
Okay.
Wraparound services have changed tremendously. But if they go back to the way it used to be, I think that we can save a lot of our young people.
Absolutely, because the people who actually have a vested interest.
Absolutely.
And a family member definitely would have a vested interest, or the pastor or the teacher. People are going to be with that person on a daily basis. But let's absolutely. Thanks for explaining the wraparound concept there. I wanted to move on. You've also had extensive relations with broadcasting, corporate sales, public relations, marketing, and of course political campaigns. And you spent actually we're going to get back to that. Now I'm not really glossing over that spot right there. 18 years in radio as an on-air talent. You've won some awards, and you had an extensive career. So I feel really proud of the honor to have you sitting across from me on this TV show, this broadcast. Using new media, so that's exciting. Again, congratulations for all that you've done and what you're working on right now, and I can't wait to see you know, where the end's going to be, where this race is going. You've run for mayor of the city of Cleveland. You've written some books. You're an awesome author and poet and just a person. Again, going back to the advocacy, that means a lot in a lot of different areas. And you're serious and dedicated. You're loyal to your cause. Very passionate. So, is there anything you want to add in more detail to that? We talked about the political campaigns. If you want to start there, wherever you want to start.
Well, let's go back to the fundamentals of just being a radio broadcaster.
All right.
I became a radio broadcaster. At the same time, I was a social worker.
Wow.
So a lot of times people think when I say that, they say, well, how did Brown make that happen? You couldn't be a social worker and a radio broadcasting. Yeah, you can actually do whatever you want to do if you have great time management skills. So I actually have a license. I have an FCC license.
Go back there. You said it. We can do whatever we want to do if we have great time management
Absolutely.
skills. That's important.
Absolutely. And the fundamentals of that is that I worked at Murtis Taylor when I first started doing radio, and I was actually going to the radio station at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting off at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I could make it to Murtis Taylor at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Wow!
So those were my days, and I was working in radio during the weekends. But after I became, I guess you could say, rooted and grounded in radio, I still worked as a social worker, and I began to grow in social work, from social work being a PR specialist and a director of marketing over in Harambe. But I was still working my radio because radio was ingrained with me. And I think the best part about radio that people don't understand when you talk about radio broadcasters, they always think about people who just play records. But that's the minimum thing that radio announcers do. Because you're still out there. You're publicizing different events. You're helping with promotions. You're being an advocate all day long.
Exactly.
You're being invited to different groups to talk about different concerns and different type of awarenesses that people don't understand. So therefore, they use radio personalities to actually push public agendas and public policies, and people don't understand that. So therefore, and I'm going to go here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Therefore, when I threw my hat out to become mayor for the city of Cleveland. People wanted to put me in a box, and I thought that was so unfair. Some people would say, "Well, she's a social worker." No, she's a veteran radio announcer. Well, how is it that a radio announcer can become mayor? Because you really don't understand the dynamics of what a radio announcer does.
That's right.
First of all, I traveled all across the country. I had the opportunity to perform with Kirk Franklin and family. Fred Hammond, Yolanda Adams. So I had the opportunity to work with great people and look at great marketing skills. And see, that's something that the city of Cleveland is missing right now as we speak. The reason why we're really not moving forward is because we don't have a marketing plan that's strategic enough to move us from point A to point B. So who better knows that than a radio announcer? Why? Because I've been traveling. So you just can't say that somebody's not qualified for a position because of the box you want to put them in, but you have to look at the total dynamics of what they're bringing to the table. And the dynamics that I bring is so tremendous that I think I have probably one of the most diverse resumes. And I didn't say that until the Plain Dealer said it first. They said it first in 2009, and people didn't pick up on it. Diverse means that, you have so many skills that is incredible.
But not unrelated skills, though.
Not unrelated
those skills be transferred to any career to be successful.
Absolutely.
You're talking about fundamentals and the way you develop those things out. You talked about PR.
Absolutely.
You have to be a public relations specialist.
And you have to know community relations.
Yes.
You have to know policies. You have to know public government.
Yes.
You have to know private sectors, public sectors. And everything that I've done in my career, it mesh all that. And I don't want to say this to be confident or arrogant, but I will say that I will put my talent, skills, and abilities against any person who's running for any office in this region.
Absolutely. And that's a great place to take a break. And we'll be right back again with Kimberly F. Brown. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Kimberly F. Brown, the advocate. Now, Kimberly, in our intro, we actually had a very in-depth, very energetic discussion, and you're about to go into, not political campaigns in and of themselves, but what it takes to, to run for office and really be successful in office. And you bring like you said, a very diverse, heavy skill set to that. A lot of the soft skills are very important dealing with people. But you've done some things. I know you went to Baldwin-Wallace College. Of course, they changed the name to university. That's both our alma maters. But if you want to talk about that, I know you have an article here in the studio. And this was on one of the newspapers from the school this morning. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, here's the thing. I attended Baldwin-Wallace as a freshman in 1984. So I guess that's telling my age a bit, but I'm okay with that. And as a freshman, going to college for the first time, you're extremely naive. And when you grow up in a home where mom has always done so much for you and grandma, and they never really let anybody bother you but your siblings, you're very fearful when you have to live on campus somewhere. But, it's your parents, your grandparents, your uncles and your aunts that tell you, it's about education and nothing else, and don't get caught up in negative rapture.
Right.
But you're there for the grades.
Right, exactly. Now, you've come from a family of education.
Yes.
I believe in education.
Absolutely. So, I'm at Baldwin-Wallace. We're there for several months, myself and a roommate. And this is pretty much going to take us back as to why I am who I am.
Okay.
Well, in February 1985, me and my roommate, we were in a room sleeping. It's about 2 in the morning. And we got a hard knock on our door. And it was some officers who were employed with Baldwin-Wallace.
Okay.
And they were telling us that we weren't welcome there. Well, when we say welcome, I'm not going to use the N-word.
Exactly.
But it was a very touching, provoking moment, telling us as black girls at that time, now we're black women, that we weren't welcome at Baldwin-Wallace College. And that night was a very horrific night because I had never experienced anything like that ever in my life. And what bothered me so, and still today, is that when you see things like that go on in the community, this is 2013.
Yes.
I always have a moment of reflection, a flashback back to 1985. Because the trauma is still there.
Yes.
It's still a shame that you can't go to certain institutions. You can't go to certain stores. You can't work at certain entities, corporations, or public or private sectors because of the complexion of your skin.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Yes.
Of the complexion of your skin. And I'll even say this, it's even more traumatic when somebody tells you that you can't be mayor of the city, or you can't be a council person because you're too dark. This is 2013. Yeah. And the sad thing about it, Audrey, is it's not Caucasians who say this to you.
Oh, I know where you're going.
That's the thing that gets me. It's folk that look just like me.
Yes.
And I can't believe that the Willie Lynch law still exists in 2013. I didn't believe that it existed in 1985. But when I was going through my closet the other day, and I was just contemplating on certain things, trying to build my new campaign office, because you do know I am running for councilwoman of Ward 1, and that's the Lee Harvard area. Well, ironically, I happened to find this article in the Exponent, and this actually came out in 1985, and it talks about student racism creates Senate controversy. And I remember a couple of days ago, I reread the article, and it just brought, a lot of emotions back. A lot of tears, I'm sure, because a lot of things that I had to go through, and I still see my young brothers and sisters still going through this today. So this in itself is partially, if not the entire reason, as to why I am who I am, why I defend public issues all day long. I will challenge systems here again, not to step on anybody's toes, but simply to say, if something's wrong, somebody has to be willing enough to challenge policies in order to improve the system for everyone. So this is what I stand for. This is the premise of how I stand. And I will take it back to 1985 at Baldwin-Wallace College. And I do want to put this disclaimer out there. Baldwin-Wallace College was not a negative institution for me. It was an institution of experience. And because of that experience, I have gained great wisdom on how me as a woman, how I treat other people that I come in connection with. It didn't feel good when I was told because I was too dark or black that I couldn't go to a predominantly white private institution.
Yes,
It didn't
yes.
feel good. So when God takes you through situations like that, I don't necessarily believe that it means that we should shut down as African Americans or we should blame another race. I take it as a learning experience.
Yes.
To say, you know what, there's something that has to be done. And God allows us, He allows certain people to go through certain things because He knows that He can strengthen you and He needs that voice in you to help magnify the needs of the people. So therefore, you can help change public policies.
That's right.
And this is something that I'm trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that concept out about going through something for a purpose. You know, that God has a higher reason, and like you say, you've strengthened it, and for sure you have. Because even prior to that, in elementary school or junior high school, you were involved in student governments or student organizations somehow. Okay, so that's where you got your feet wet, and then to have an inside experience involved in Wallace College, and it is very interesting that happened to you because I came along 5 years later in September of 1990 to finish off my bachelor's degree from Wallace. So I saw a totally different thing. And that was kind of sad. And you're talking about now you're running for council. We have a couple more minutes before we will take our next break. And there's anything you want to add to that?
Well, let me say, we have major issues in our own city. Right now, you know that Cleveland's population is shrinking. And because of that, our city had to relieve 2 of our council seats. So come 2014, we won't have 19 council people, we'll have 17.
Okay.
Well, I happened to throw my hat in the ring for a Ward 1 council seat. And if you're familiar with Ward 1, matter of fact, this is where you grew up in Ward 1.
Absolutely, yes.
That's the Lee, Harvard, Miles, and now parts of Kinsman and Milverton area.
Okay, so that's part of the redistricting. Okay.
Absolutely. And if you remember the history of Ward 1, Ward 1 used to be full of African Americans, professionals who did not want to live in the suburbs.
Yes.
Because Ward 1 was considered to be the suburb of the city.
Absolutely.
And
I can remember
any and everybody could not live in Ward 1. Ward 1 had pride. The students who attended John F. Kennedy were the stellar students, you know, of the city of Cleveland, of Cuyahoga County.
Yes.
Now, I grew up on Chapel side when my mom bought that house. Originally, when we came from New York, we were on Buckeye. Okay. But I would always remember this, telling my mom, I want to live in Ward 1. Ward 1 had the prettiest lawns. You didn't see trash in Ward 1. You know, the businesses were booming. People had pride. You know, the young people there, they were respectful. But that was 20-something years ago.
The landscape has changed.
That was 20-something years ago. Today, Ward 1 no longer has those characteristics. I'm a homeowner now in Ward 1. I didn't invest in Ward 1 to see crime go up, to see property value go down, and to see our kids run astray. So something has to be done, and it has to be done immediately.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to say anything negative about the current council person, but I will say this. When you don't have a vision, things will perish.
That's right.
When you don't have hope, people become hopeless. When people are starving, the natives become hungry, and they'll do whatever it takes to survive. And some way, somehow, we have to begin to make a U-turn. And I'm that U-turn that Ward 1 needs.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to run a strong fight. I'm going to run an honest fight.
Yes.
And I'm going to be very perseverant. Now, we just opened up our campaign office.
Okay, all right.
And on April 13th, we're actually having an official campaign open house. Okay. And our campaign office is located, and of course, you better come by.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes.
4583 Lee Road.
Okay.
You're going to see balloons, banners, and the entire 9 yards.
That's going to be fun.
And I'll tell you a secret.
All right.
Now, you know, the plain dealer recently stated this, Mark Navin. He stated that the city of Cleveland needs an entire new city council. He didn't say save somebody. He said a brand new city council. Okay. So me and some of my colleagues who are running in different areas, they're also going to be at the campaign opening. Okay. Because I want people to come out from across the city. Find out who's running in your ward. Ask them the hard questions. And if they can't answer, then you have to choose someone else. But at least this way, Come out and see how good things can be.
That's right.
Don't complain about tomorrow if you didn't have a hand in today. But that's April 13th from 12 to 2:30. You better be there.
Okay.
Official campaign opening.
Kimberly
Brown,
sounds like a studio day, but we'll get in there.
Bring your tape.
We'll bring my whole
Bring your tape.
I'm gonna have to record from
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Site.
That's awesome. I can't wait for that to happen.
Record
On
site.
that, we're gonna take our next break, and we'll be right back with Kimberly F. Brown.
This is your day to shine, your time to win. So raise your cup and drink.
Hii coffee ni nzuri sana, kwa hivyo tunatakikana kukunywa, alafu tunasaidia dunia yote, trayendo los tesoros de la tierra a la gente del mundo.
Your time to win. Why do the same when you can go? Why do the same when you can go beyond, 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 go beyond.
We're back again with Kimberly F. Brown, advocate, and now candidate for City Council, Ward 1, Cleveland, Ohio. Now, Kimberly, you know, as part of your political career, you've run for mayor for the city of Cleveland. You talked about having a vision for Ward 1. Now, you have an overall vision for the city, and I have it right here in my hand. When you were running for mayor, you put together a plan for saving the city, and actually the Cleveland Plain Dealer, with the editor, Regina Brett, she'd actually picked this up and printed it in its entirety in the paper.
Yes.
So this is here's a plan for saving the city, and either stand up or shut up, tough talk coming from a social worker. And this is from Kimberly F. Brown. Where's the cover here? Kimberly, we got okay. America's Safety Plan, Saving America's City, developed by Project 21,000 of Pure Excellence Incorporated, Cleveland, Ohio. Now, I remember when you put this together, and to give us some more information or insight as to what this safety plan or this strategic plan really is all about. Because actually you can take part of this and implement it or integrate it into what you're doing now.
Absolutely. Well, here's what happened. Let's go back to some historical data.
Okay.
Back in 2007, Regina Brett was getting so upset because here again, African American males were committing crime every single day, multiple times during the day. And as a columnist, she put out this little column that she would challenge African American leaders to come up with a plan. Now, you know, a lot of us, here again, we like to wolf, we like to bark, we like to hold marches, rallies, no justice, no peace. We like to do things like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's never black words on white paper. And black words on white paper is the most powerful thing ever. That pen is mightier than a sword.
Oh, yeah.
So we know this. So myself, Pastor Reverend McMichaels, and Caesar Powell, we actually submitted plans. They weren't joint plans, they were individual plans. Well, when I submitted my plan, it raised an eyebrow for Regina Brett.
Okay.
So she pretty much ran with it because she liked everything that was in the plan. And what was ironic about it is when I remember Regina Brett called me and she was like, Kimberly Brown, are you the lady that ran for mayor? And I said, I'm the black lady that ran for mayor. Yes, I am. I should be mayor, but you guys didn't want me to be mayor. She said, no, it's not that, because she doesn't live in the city of Cleveland. She says, well, your plan is phenomenal. And basically, Audrey, this is the plan.
Okay.
That's the plan. It's a 70-page module.
All right.
And basically what it does, it talks about small incremental steps that we can take as a community that's extremely cost effective in order to rid our community of thug culture.
Okay.
Small incremental steps. It talks about certain things as, you know, going back to things that we've already done, like having the police patrol on foot, not by car, not by horse, not by motorcycle, just by being visible. It talks about, you know, illuminating our businesses at night. Simply because you understand that concept.
Yes.
When the light is on, people stay away.
Yes.
When it's dark, people will play. So how much does it take to do something like that? There's a strategy in here that I put together. It's called the public relations strategy. Now, picture this, if you will.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, a crime has occurred on 131st and Miles, okay? But, of course, this person is still in rapture. The police is still looking for that person. Wouldn't it be phenomenal if we had one person designated at every single business in the city of Cleveland that we can call, and they would alert every single employee in that building
Yes.
to say, be on the lookout for such and such. Because here again, everybody don't watch the news.
That's right. That's
Everybody
right.
don't read the newspaper.
Mhm.
But everybody at work reads that email.
Yes. Absolutely.
Everybody at work
Absolutely.
reads that email. So if you just pinpointed one person
Mm-hmm.
at the job, so when things like this would happen, they would know the hot spots, they would know the safety spots.
Mm-hmm.
It would be an automatic citizen alert of what just occurred
Yes.
in our city, which in fact, it would do two things.
Mhm.
One, it would keep you safe. Two, it would keep you away from a place that has been targeted.
That's right.
Let's say, for example, a bank get robbed.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple things. Now, what gets me is that the banks have something called dye in the bag. Okay, so what? It explodes and you get red dye on you. Now, wouldn't it be nice if, well, it'd never be nice if a bank get robbed, first of all.
Yes.
But let's just say, rather than the dye coming out the bag, let's say the water system turns on.
Okay.
Could you imagine somebody trying to go spend wet dollars?
Absolutely never happened.
At the same time the sprinkler system comes on, the door should automatically shut and lock.
Mm-hmm.
Because now when you walk into the bank, you have the first door and you have the second door.
Yes.
If they got caught right between those doors, you wouldn't have to worry about the police finding them because now they'd have found
They're
themselves.
already in case.
And
They're in
let's
jail,
say,
right?
watch, let's say they got through the doors.
Okay.
Now they got the wet money, they got through the doors.
They're wet.
Right, they're wet. Now, watch, easy to identify. Let's say this. Let's say if our bank parking lots, all of them have high speed roads.
Mm-hmm.
It's very impossible to try to sped off doing 100 miles per hour and you got the speed bumps.
Right.
You can't go anywhere.
Mm-mm.
That in itself will actually stop certain things from occurring.
Mm-hmm.
What we have to do as individuals, we have to be smart. We don't always have to put in, billion-dollar metal detector systems.
Exactly.
Sometimes we have to use our thought process and understand we got to think. Say, for example, this. In this book, we also talk about school safety.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
My idea
That's
is
a timely
this,
topic.
because now you have a lot of shootings in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if you took the security guards away from the front door, but you positioned them like they did when we were in elementary school in the stairwells,
Mm-hmm.
on the stairwells,
Yes.
and they had to stand there throughout the course of the day, except for of course their lunch break. You
Mhm.
understand? So therefore, we don't fall into that ACLU, liberties type of thing.
Correct.
And union. But let's just say if we start positioning people in the right position, certain things would not happen. You know why? Because all eyes, not hands, but all eyes would be on deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I propose is this. On every single floor, there should be one padded room.
Okay.
Large enough so if somebody does come in with a gun, all of our kids, rather than being rushed downstairs, rush them to that bulletproof room. So therefore, now you got the person out there with a gun. He or she can shoot up whatever they want to shoot up. But one thing about it, it keeps our kids safe.
Absolutely.
It keeps our teachers safe.
Yes.
And there should always be something called gun drills rather than, I can't say rather than fire
In
drills,
addition.
but gun drills in connection with the fire drills. There also have to be something called an alert bill.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you have to make sure that on every single floor, there is something called safety grounds,
Mm-hmm.
where, of course, then you have the telephone. So, therefore, they can talk directly with the police or directly to the media or whatever the case may be, where parents can call into that room and say, is Audrey Wiggins okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my baby's here. Is Kimberly Brown okay? Yes, Kimberly is here. That way, it relieves the parents, it relieves the police, and they know everybody's in a safety zone. Even this, if the police decide to enter into that school and they get into a shootout, we don't have to worry about the people being caught up in this room, being
Mhm.
shot or injured, or that a bullet will inadvertently go in. Why?
Yes,
Because
yes.
it's a safety zone.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple techniques. I'm not going to talk about it all because this
Oh,
is
that's-
a $5 billion plan.
Absolutely.
But I will tell you this. When I become council person of Ward 1,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these plans here will be implemented. And it won't cost Ward 1 anything but to think. I think Judge Jean Merrill Caper, she said it
Mhm.
best. She says, America loves to talk about money when it comes to issues. She said, it's not money. Money don't resolve or solve anything
Okay.
but paying your bills. Let's
Yes.
just be honest. But when we start getting our master's degrees and our PhDs and our BAs, we have to learn how to think.
Mm.
There's something called a think tank Everybody says they have a think tank, but as soon as an issue occurs, everybody runs to the money tank. It's not the money that's going to solve it. Because after the money is spent and we get the grants, you still have that same issue.
Yes.
On the Brown team, we have implemented something that Britain does. Britain has this concept where they bring all the talent to the table.
Okay.
Because I understand this. I don't have all of the answers,
Mm-hmm.
but I do have an answer. But
Right.
I do know that if I brought all of the talent to the table, there's going to be somebody who can tweak this to make
Yes.
it better tomorrow than what it is today.
Yes.
But this is America's safety
Because you're
plan.
thinking.
Absolutely, because we're
Yes.
thinking. And I'm not going to depend on tax dollars to get us out of situations when history has already taught us that tax dollars don't do anything but make voters upset.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
it. And we can look at issue 107, the Cleveland School Levy, if we want to talk about that.
Okay, let's do that after this break.
I
Okay,
appreciate
we'll be right back again with Kimberly F. Brown, advocate, and we'll be right back with Kimberly F. Brown, candidate for council, Ward 1, City of Cleveland, Ohio. Kimberly F. Brown, candidate for City Council of Cleveland, Ohio, former candidate for Mayor of City of Cleveland, Ohio. Now, Kim, we've been having some real deep and important discussions, I believe, here today with regard to advocacy and the things that you and your campaign can do for the area, and which could be modeled actually in other areas, and we can begin to realize some real change. One community, one state, one region, and of course, then one country at a time. And I can see other countries, looking into,
Absolutely.
To duplicating what we're doing in your plan to save America and actually to save the world. So I appreciate that. That's minimal, but I can say for all the work and effort that went into this. And the team, that worked with you. But you've been I've seen you over the years. You've done your homework. You know about government budgets and things and how the intricacies and how the inner workings and there's some other legislation and different bills and things out there. You have for education. I know you're a great advocate. There's one out now that you're pretty passionate about. Let's share with us about that.
Well, this one was actually last year.
Okay.
This was issue 107.
Okay.
And it was the Cleveland School Levy. And I opposed that levy, staunchly opposed it. And I wanted to, make it very clear to people that never am I ever against young people, because I work with young people, since the beginning of my career, being an advocate. But issue 107 definitely was not for the children of the city of Cleveland, and it definitely wasn't for the homeowners. It wasn't for the people. It's really not for the region. Issue 107 was for big businesses for the city of Cleveland, and it was a way for them to generate dollars and cents for more wasteful spending. And let me say this, back in 1998, this is when Mayor Michael White, he was our mayor, Michael R. White, and if you remember, this is when our school system actually went under mayoral control. And during that time, there was a House Bill 269. Well, House Bill 269 is symbolic to the new Cleveland plan. Now, basically what has happened is this. All they did, our legislators, was change the name, House Bill 269, stating that, the Cleveland plan had a plan of action for our school systems to make it better, and it was supposed to be so pro-Cleveland, and that they were going to come up with this plan in order to monitor our students' academics, to monitor the finances, to monitor administration, just to make sure that everything runs smoothly, so therefore our young people will get the education that they're desired. But more so, this Cleveland plan is supposed to make sure that our kids have all the necessary tools in each and every classroom, so therefore no child would be left behind.
Yes.
Well, to this day, as we speak, they're still in a draft plan. There's no plan. So they're still playing games with this plan. But here's the thing that gets me. Anytime you deal with a draft plan or you're dealing with a draft, you don't give them an exuberant amount of money.
Right.
That's not what you do.
Right.
So technically what happened during this past issue is that Clevelanders voted to approve issue 107, but they still don't have a plan to this day. And as far as the way we look at it is that you hoodwink voters. You told them you had something that you never had.
Mm-hmm.
What you did, you rushed a plan through our House. You had legislation built in less than 90 days. And that is like almost unheard of. And now that things have come to fruition, we understand that the reason why the plan was rushed through is because the state was going to take over the Cleveland schools regardless, because of the poor academic failure that they had experienced for the past 4 years. So what the legislators didn't tell the public was, we're really not doing this for the kids, but we're doing it to protect faith, so to speak, because we just don't want the state to come in to monitor it. But my thing is very simple. If you can't get the job done, and if it's really about our kids, then therefore it shouldn't matter who comes in to make sure our kids get educated.
That's right.
As long as education is the goal and the natural key. To this day, if you've been paying attention to the media, they don't mention the Cleveland plan. They don't mention issue 107. And they definitely don't say that they have a solid plan in action. And the reason why they can't say it is because I go to those meetings and they still have a draft plan. Well, voters didn't vote on a draft plan. They voted, they thought,
Yes.
on a plan.
That's
and there's
right.
still not a plan to this day. So here again, you know, even like in Ward 1 residents, they were hoodwinked.
Mm-hmm.
They were told by the council person and even one of our state legislators who live in Ward 1 that there was a solid plan and that the plan would aid our schools. And if it didn't aid our schools, our kids will fall by the wayside. Now, I'm going to take you back to the period where President Barack Obama first got into office.
Okay.
Remember when the banks got this bailout?
Oh, yeah.
And the banks were going belly up, and they pleaded with Congress, and they were saying, well, if we don't get this money, you know, America's going to fall. And they had all these sob stories, and they was like, oh, woe is me. And they told President Barack Obama and Congress that once we get this money, we're going to loan to consumers, we're going to loan to small businesses, we're going to start bringing back, you know, services, and we're going to start this generation of revenue production over and over again.
Yes,
but as soon as the
yes.
bank got the money, you didn't hear anything else from them. As soon as the bank got the money, they refused to give loans to consumers and businesses. The same thing that the Cleveland plan has done is symbolic to the $700 billion bailout. It wasn't right for Congress, and it's not right for the city of Cleveland, and the city of Clevelanders got hoodwinked. Now, I'll tell you this. Under our administration, the Brown administration,
Yes.
if God blesses with that Ward 1 seat, we will make sure that our residents are not hoodwinked by legislators or false people who are saying that they're for the people, when in fact they're never for the people, but they're self-serving politicians. And that's something we all have to be cognizant of and be very careful of. Because basically what happened, Audrey, is that you got homeowners paying for something that they're not going to get a return on their investment.
Right.
And the sad part about it is this. In these trying times where jobs are very few and our people are starving and they don't have the educational needs to get from pillar to post, it was wrong to inflict that type of levy on a population that's already financially drained and financially dying. And no one says anything. Yes, our kids need to be educated, but not on the backs of taxpayers. That's never acceptable for us. Never.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to look at the concept of how much money does the Cleveland Municipal School District waste. They waste millions of dollars every single year. If you put the right people in place, you can catch some of that wasteful spending. Now, we don't live in a utopia, so of course, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like everybody is perfect when it comes to managing their dollars and cents. But I will say this. When you're in position, a public position of such, especially when it comes to education, we expect you to have a higher ground of education to make sure a penny is a penny, a dollar is a dollar, and that dollar or that penny is not wasted.
That's right.
I staunchly oppose issue 107. I will continue to oppose issue 107, although it passed. But our job now is to keep people educated and abreast about where issue 107 is today. Right now, it's nowhere. They didn't tell us the truth. They lied to us. It was very deceptive. They didn't have a plan back in July. They didn't have a plan back in 1998 when they said they had this oversight community. Nobody's overseeing the school system. And I still say today that the state should come in to oversee the schools for a little bit until our kids are par for the course to where they're now beginning to get a real education.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was powerful. Thanks, Kimberly. That was powerful. I can see that happening. And with that, I know you're having your opening. I think we already mentioned that. Yes, we did talk about that. So so please, if you're in the area, the neighborhood, if you're in Detroit, drive over. That's not too far. Those little ways over to come. So I know that's going to be a powerful day. Can't wait. You're talking about bringing the different talent and the different contenders for the different wars. I mean that I can see something like that happening. Because if you have to have real change, you have to have new blood. And I don't mean you have to kill off the old, because there's some wisdom in longevity, but to intermix and intermingle and mix that together and really be open for change. And the world is moving fast, and we're all left behind. And but I do remember the glory days of Ward 1, and we can have those days back again.
Remember this: when our current city council sits down, the community will blossom and it will grow.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking for growth, you're looking for economic development, economic empowerment, economic achievement, and therefore you have to do what you have to do as an intellectual voter. Right now, forget about the concept of parties. I am a conservative Democrat, and proud to say. But some of the people who are going to be at my event, they are Republicans. And what we're going to show is that we can work together, we can talk to one another, and we can come up with a viable plan to serve the entire city, not just a party. Right. So forget about endorsements. Some of the endorsements, and I will say this, and I'll stand by this statement, some of the endorsements have actually contributed to the ruins of our society. Because people vote down the slate, be it the Republican slate or the Democratic slate. Just because you have that piece of paper, it's the slate, that doesn't mean that that person or those individuals are the right people at the right time for this right season of our city.
Now, if I can remember, wasn't there a time when you were able to vote for whatever candidate, not necessarily the party again? Couldn't we vote for either one?
You still can.
Okay.
You absolutely can.
Okay.
But people have this mentality that, well, this is my slate and this is who should represent me. Well, I'm going to say this. Look out the windows. Look out your own window. And if you're happy with what you see, then you vote that slate.
Yes.
If you're not happy, like 99.9% of us, then you know automatically it's time for your think tank to come on rather than think group or group think. Because that's something terrible. You just go along to get along. And historically, as African Americans, we should know better than to go along just to get along.
Yes.
That's a whole nother subject by itself. And we go back down to the 1700s.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
I think we better take a break. And come on back to Kimberly F. Brown and Kim. I want you to give us some, summarize and kind of wrap up and give us some hard advice. And I know you're good for that. And not necessarily hard, but real, something that's deep, that's, not the shallow stuff. I think pretty much that's what we've been floating on. Shallowism.
Certainly.
Yeah, so we have to put on our, our high boots and walk down to the deep water. Okay, so I want you to do that for us when we come back, and we'll be able to, tell us again how we can plug into you, and, like your web address or email, how to get in touch, and so we can begin to volunteer for the campaign and just come out and support and get some real grassroots efforts, and that's how we're going to get our cities and our countries back, grassroots. So we'll be back again with Kimberly F. Brown.
Welcome to My Video Broadcaster. This is our webinar system, and it's unlike any webinar system currently on the market. But what makes this product so powerful is that your presenter is streaming live in high-definition TV quality video. With this powerful product, you can share PowerPoint presentations, share videos, share JPEGs, chat, file share, and even use the whiteboard with participant drawing for collaboration. And it's simple to customize with predefined and fully customized layouts. And you can change layouts in real time. Add your banner, logo, and change the color to your brand's look and feel. Hyperlink the banner and logo to a website of your choice. And upload most major video formats with our Flash encoder. You can also invite guest speakers via video and audio, share your desktop, conduct surveys, and more, with no software to download and install, and only the host needs to have the service. educators, motivators, or anybody doing any type of online presentations are going to love the features of this phenomenal product, all branded with your image. My Video Broadcaster, available exclusively through My Video Talk.
Kimberly Brown. Kim, it's been an awesome day with you today.
Yes.
For interview. Thanks again for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The work that you do, I appreciate the work that you do, and I hope our viewers will feel the same way and plug into what you're doing. So let's give a summary and let us know how we can support you and what you're doing on your website or your you get your campaign office or email. Go ahead, Kim.
Well, first of all, let me just say this. It's been a pleasure rekindling our old friendship. I do appreciate that. I really appreciate the fact that you had me on because, you didn't have to. So, I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Yes. And all the support that you have lent me in the past. But I want to make very clear that I'm a Democrat with a purpose-driven life.
Okay.
And because of that, I know the direction that I'm supposed to go. God has a tendency to guide our footsteps.
Yes.
And of course, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's who I need to please. We're all put on this earth to make a difference somehow, some way. And whatever way he wants to use me is going to be used. So I will continue to fight big government. I will continue to fight private organizations and private entities anytime that I am made aware of indiscriminatory practices.
Yeah.
I will stand up. And as you know, that in 2009 actually made history across the globe.
That's right.
Because I stood up to one of the largest corporations in the United States of America. And it's because of such that independent contractors now have a right to sue in federal court under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act.
Okay, that's awesome.
So we do have to stand up for what is right, and we have to sit down for what is wrong. People should get that and catch it. But here again, I am running for council person in Ward 1, the beautiful Ward 1.
Yes.
Lee Harvard area, that Miles area, Milverton.
My home area.
Absolutely. And on April 13th,
Okay.
we'll be having the official campaign office for Kimberly Brown for Ward 1 council person, City of Cleveland. And our address is 4583 Lee Road, right next door to Wake Forest Landscaping. It'll be held from 12 to 2:30 p.m. They can come out, they can register to vote, they can also come out and meet and greet other candidates who will also be running for council throughout the city.
Awesome.
According to the plain dealer, Mark Nemick, he stated this, he said, the city of Cleveland is dying and the city of Cleveland needs a brand new city council. We are a new team with a real dream and a real vision, so come out and meet us. You can visit my website, the information is on there. And the website is easy, Audrey. It's www.KimberlyFBrown.com.
KimberlyFBrown.com.
KimberlyFBrown.com. KimberlyFBrown.com. KimberlyFBrown.com. So they can actually, yes, they can log on, they can volunteer, and or they can just simply get involved with the campaign. Come out, just come out and be supportive, and let us know what type of changes you want to make in this community. And even if you don't have the gumption or the heart to do as such, maybe you're not committed enough to run for office, come out and tell us your dreams, and we'll do our best to try to implement them in the plans to make things happen.
Awesome, awesome. As you said that phrase, make things happen. So thanks again, Kim. It's been awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, God bless you in your efforts, and thank you for continuing to stand up, for others when others won't stand up, for us. And you guys, you go out and you make something awesome happen in your community. Kimberly F. Brown is an example of one person making a difference in one community, in one world, and you can do the same thing. See you next week.